I get asked all the time what I think of Volvo trucks. Now, you guys that have followed the channel know that I kind of like to joke about Volvos, but the truth of the matter is all trucks have come a long way in the last 40 years, and Volvo's no exception. But I would never buy one, and I'll tell you why. Here are the 5 reasons I would never buy one. Number 1, they're kind of a cookie cutter truck. You see thousands of them now on the road. They all look the same. Most of them are white, and there's just nothing special about them. There's just too many of them. There's nothing unique. They're just, big fleets buy them by the tens of thousands, and that's probably why you see them all the time. And it just doesn't, it's just such a common looking thing, it just doesn't appeal to me. It's a cookie cutter truck. That just never does it for me. Probably one of the biggest things, and this is a big thing for me, is it's got no hood. Real trucks have to have a hood. Up here in northern Ontario, a lot of you guys will have never seen moose. Moose are big damn animals. They stand like 6-7 feet high. They'll look you square in the face when you're sitting in your truck. Now with a hood, when you hit one, it wrecks the truck, but at least this doesn't join you in the cab. With a Volvo with the drop nose, it comes along, takes the knees right out of the moose, he slides up the hood and ends up in the cab with you. Now, that's never happened to me, but I sure wouldn't want it to, because I bet you that moose would be some mad. So you don't want to end up with a moose in your truck. So that's number 2. Number 3 is, the things are just naturally fugly. And I've said this before, you just can't help it. You can go into Walcott or 4 States and spend $10,000 on stuff for the Volvo, come out, stick it on, it still looks the same. It's like trying to put perfume on a pig. It's just never going to be a real pretty truck. There's just no helping it. It's just the nature of the beast. And while I'm at it, what is the deal with those little bumper lights on the Volvos that are always on? Someone's got to talk to those guys in Sweden that set these things up and design these things. That in North America, that's kind of a rookie thing, running with your bumper lights on. That looks goofy. That drives me nuts. Number 4, these things have no resale value. Now, they don't have any resale value, probably because you see tens and thousands of them on the highway. All the big fleets buy them, and at any given time you can find tens and tens of thousands of these things on resale lots, and they're marked down for dirt cheap. It's because there's thousands of them and nobody wants one. They got terrible resale value. So if you buy one, it's a throwaway truck. Most owner-operators have a problem with that because they need resale from the last truck to put against the next truck for a downstroke. So owner-operators don't really go well with throwaway trucks. That might work for a big carrier like Swift. And this is going to sound like a really strange little deal maybe, but I'm a guy that cares where the stuff is made, where it comes from. Like when I buy anything, I look where it's made. And geez, it's hard to find anything these days that's not made in China. But I'm not really one of these global economy guys. I like stuff that's made here. I like to support our economy. Freightliner and Western Stars, they're owned by a German corporation now. And Volvo is owned in Sweden. Now I know they've got plants here in North America that make them, but at the end of the day, the money from the sales of these Volvos kick back to Sweden. Do you think any of the guys in Sweden are buying Pete's? No. So I like to buy North American stuff. I like the money to stay here. I like the jobs to stay here. It's just a thing with me. So that's why I like Pete's and Kenworth over the Volvo, because they're made here and they're just a North American truck, and that's the kind of trucking I do. That's all there is to it. Now I know that lots of guys these days are buying Volvos. I can kind of understand that mentality, and I can kind of understand that, well, maybe because of the drop nose they get better fuel mileage. I get all of that. So at the end of the day, I'd be curious to know what you guys would buy. How many of you guys now have gotten away from long hood trucks and ended up with a Volvo? I'd love to know the answer to that question. Pretty sure that I won't be seeing a sponsorship from Volvo anytime soon, but that's just the way I see it. Got a local guy around here. Decided to build his own dump truck. and he's a pretty handy mechanic. So he found this old cab and chassis. He put a box on it, ripped it from stem to stern, got it working. It's a working dump truck now, but he put it to work before he'd quite finished putting all the touches on it. So takes it to work. He's starting to run gravel out of the pit. The MTO pulls him over. MTO is like the DOT up here. The MTO pulls him over, wants to have a look at this truck. They can tell it's kind of built in the backyard, kind of a machine, and they want to have a closer look at it. So they inspect it. But Marcus is a good mechanic. They check the brakes, they check the wheels, they check the suspension, they check everything. And originally they'd pulled him over too because they didn't see him wearing a seatbelt. But the truck is so old that it had just a lap belt. It was built before the days of the shoulder strap seatbelt. So it just has a lap belt. And they investigated that too. Marcus showed them that, it was just a lap belt. Nothing fancier. It came with the age of the truck. So that was legal and that was acceptable. So the DOT gave him a green light and off he drove and smiling to himself, because what he never revealed to the DOT is that he hadn't quite finished installing the seat. So while the seat belt was attached to the seat wasn't attached to the floor of the truck. And he really enjoyed telling me that story. I got a laugh out of it. If it ever hit anything, he and the seat would have launched it through the windshield, but it all worked out okay. Anyway, boys, that's my story for the day. Keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you on the back haul.